Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Here on the Sheenapreneur channel, I share information about government contracting, veteran business content, and other business tips. What's going on, everyone? It is Sheena, aka Sheenapreneur, your favorite veteran, and it is a rainy Saturday here in Atlanta, and I see a lot of y'all are already on, so I really appreciate y'all being here with us. I have tremendous guests. I have Mr. Carl Gebo, who you've seen before, and he and his colleague Linecia Gilmore are going to share some extremely important information. And you all have been at my neck about this change in the climate, change in government contracting, change in the administration. I'm like, I don't know, because I'm not the expert. So that's why I brought these wonderful experts on who have had so much experience in the government contracting legal side. And I'm sure they have been inundated with a lot of requests and questions and just bombarded with everything. And they chose to spend an hour with us. We want to make sure that this time counts. So please, Miss Linecia, please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Linecia Gilmore, and I am an attorney with Gilmore Legal. I handle small government business contractors in the federal, local space, and I'm based out of Atlanta, Georgia.
Woo woo, Atlanta. Okay, Mr. Carl Gebo, welcome back.
Thanks for having me back, Sheena. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Carl Gebo. I am the managing owner of Gebo Law LLC, and we focus on helping government contractors of all sizes, but have a soft spot for small businesses and businesses new to government contracting, state, local, and federal. I am a veteran as well, was in the Army and flew helicopters before I went to law school. Located in Atlanta, Georgia, but like Linecia, I have clients around the country in the government space.
Love it. Okay, so we want to make sure that we have, every time I bring people on, I want them to share their credentials because, why are you authorized or why should you, speak about this topic? So Linecia told me Carl told me a lot of stuff about Linecia. She just kind of like, yeah, I just do a little something, but it's tremendous information. So please share some of your credentials, your experience, how long you've been in the game. Love to hear it.
Well, I have been practicing for 20-something years, but
a baby.
but as far as my government contracting practice, it's been 15 years this year. So I have worked with Carl. Carl and I have worked for about 10 years or more together on different projects. But a lot of my government contracting clients, like Carl mentioned, are all over the United States. A lot of them are into intellectual property or IT work. A lot are either 8A set aside government contractors. So I've had experience for a long time, and I specifically work in that niche. So
I love that. And so, Carl has mentioned it. My attorney has mentioned it. You really want to get a specialized whoever you hire, because they've seen it all, done it all. And if you're getting your cousin that also does taxes and does divorce and you want someone that specializes in what they do. Every day they see this, so they've done seen it all. So Carl, please introduce yourself again for those who have missed the last video.
Sure. I have been in the government contracts legal game since 1995. So it'll be 30 years this coming August. I have worked with some of the largest government contractors in the world while I was at some large law firms here in Atlanta, and then got introduced to the small business side of government contracting through those. So they came to our firm and they were saying, hey, our small business suppliers keep getting us into trouble because they don't know what they're doing, or they don't know everything that the contract or the flow down provisions require them to do. So that was how I got introduced to this community of small business government contractors maybe 15 years ago. And I went out on my own, set up my own shop, and have been focused on government contracting for the entire 30 years, but specifically on status small business government contractors since 2011, 2012. And my clients run the gamut. So I have a multi-billion-dollar client that is in the construction materials and building supply business. I have a multi-million-dollar, tens of millions of dollar client who's in the supply chain logistics, and they sell everything from airplane and airframe components to fuel to things for electronic vehicles and electric vehicle in charging stations.
Oh, wow.
I've represented people who have custodian companies, janitorial services, lawn care, like one who does lawn care and maintenance at veteran cemeteries. Others who have contracts with state government entities, with universities, with FEMA, with all manner and sorts of different agencies. And I typically represent the contractor or the subcontractor as opposed to a government agency. And I saw there was a question about working with Native American government contractors from April. And yes, I've worked with Native American government contractors in the past. Linecia and I actually were looking to assist a Native American owned, woman owned, small environmental engineering company when they were considering some issues with their past performance, as well as with potential mergers or acquisitions or exit strategies from the business that they had built. Also worked with some Native American owned companies in the healthcare space. So they are providing staffing and healthcare services on reservations, and that's governed by a separate subset of government contracting regulations. Also, that has been with helping set up joint ventures, reviewing contracts and subcontracts, advising on potential claims, or helping with disputes, or what's known as a request for equitable adjustment, which is essentially negotiating a change order. Different one that's probably a topic that some people are going to be interested in are terminations, or terminations for convenience, and how to navigate that occurrence in your government contractor life. I've had a lot of experience in a lot of different ways, and I'm grateful for the opportunities to work with all the clients that I have, and look forward to this conversation today.
No, thank you for that. And as soon as you said termination for convenience, it reminds me of that when I called you like, oh my God, I'm terminated. I don't even know what I was terminated. Like, I didn't know what kind of termination was for. And Carl was like, oh, that's a get out of jail free card. You're all right. I was like, really?
Yeah. That is what the regulations and law provides, but it's also in my nature to be a little more glasses half full than half empty. And even in this very worrisome time, I think if we can all just like step back, take a breath, we can see even now there are opportunities that may present themselves if you are creative and you are proactive and you have a little higher of a risk tolerance. There may be opportunities to come out of this thing in even a better and stronger position.
See, it's not Sheena saying it. Carl said it, okay? So we need to take a breath, chill out for 2 seconds, step back, and just look at the glass half full. That's exactly the way I operate. That's exactly what I've been preaching, but they don't listen to me, Carl. Miss Linecia, do you also agree? Glass is half full? Or you like, it depends?
No, definitely glass is half full. I've talked to several clients this week alone about sitting down and just thinking about restructuring and how they do it, and that it's not the end of their business necessarily, but just maybe a new opportunity, like Carl has said, to either look at different agencies. You've already built up the skill set of starting your own business, and this, for most people, the services or products that you provide, they can cross between government to commercial, from federal to state or local. So no, I definitely think that the glass is half full.
No, I appreciate that. Oh, they said they listen to me. Y'all don't listen to me. Don't tell the truth. Tell the truth. Okay, so let's get right into that. And thank you. You're talking to people and explaining to them, hey, you may have to pivot a little bit, but just always be pivoting. I mean, for me, that's just something I never feel comfortable as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, with no job. Okay, I never feel comfortable. I'm always trying to think about the next move. So getting right into that, what are some? Oh, go ahead, Carl. Yes, please.
if I can just say, I've been watching the news like everybody else, and there's a lot of the headlines are worrisome and scary. For example, all of the the firings and
Yes.
the closing down and defunding of stuff. And of course, for anyone who's affected by that, losing your job is a life changing event and transition. But I couldn't stop myself from thinking there's a wealth of talent that may be shed from government employment who might be available to join government contractors. The need for those services in many instances doesn't disappear. The focus is trying to streamline government or right size government or to spend less. Well, stuff has to get done. And there may be people there with a lot of institutional knowledge who can become part of your team, right? If you guys can find one another that can add strength to strength, and so that you can be in a better position. There may be other contractors or competitors that you know for whatever reason that might be losing their contracts, but their capacity still exists. Maybe there's an opportunity to have them as your subcontractor. Maybe you guys can form a joint venture and leverage both of your capacities and move forward.
That's so true. And everyone has that complaint. Oh, I can't get in. I can't start a business because I'm working full time. Well, I've had several friends who lost their jobs, so it's no laughing matter. I've lost my job as a DoD civilian. I know that it sucks. But now you have the time. This little sliver of time you have before you either go to another job or you run out of money. This is a real channel. I don't sugarcoat. So before you run out of money, start what you can in order to, just like you said, there's people that have multiple degrees and multiple things, but they're working as, the HR manager, and they can do so many other things. Or you can even go into that. So while you have this time that you didn't have before, if you can, everyone's not meant to be a business owner. We know that. But if you can and willing, then pivot over to that and build it as fast and as safe, I guess, as you can. Because what other choice do you really have? So that's a really good point. I love that. So getting right into that, as far as the executive orders that are out, because Lord, they're coming out every other day, or they're being signed, or some are relevant to business owners, some are not necessarily. So what are some of the things that you know based on the executive orders that have been signed and implemented and not adjusted, that business owners can expect that will probably change their business? You want to
So
start? Yeah.
I'll start. First of all, I wouldn't want my clients to worry. As far as when I say worry, I wouldn't want them to consistently be looking at what executive orders the president is signing. Because I think, one, it is not a good use of your time, and two, it'll just cause you to continuously worry, right? Because you're kind of waiting to see what happens. I think that basically certain executive orders will apply to you, and you'll know, right? I think you should focus on continue to do your job, continue to run your business. When the time comes, then you'll worry about it at that time. But I personally would not say to just kind of go look for it, because if you are a federal government contractor, you already have enough on your plate. I've spoken to clients who maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, we hadn't heard anything. Everything was fine, right? And then maybe a week after that, we have some who've gotten stop work orders. Okay, at that time, let's go into detail of what you should be considering. We know that there are executive orders being signed, but I just wouldn't suggest that my clients overly worry about which ones to look at and, what to be concerned about in general, I would say.
Ahead of time, like
Right, ahead of time.
Pre-worrying. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't think that's a good use of your time. We are prepared to handle and help and assist you as things come along. So for example, maybe last week I had clients who had stop work orders, and this week some of those stop work orders were rescinded, and then some received actual termination for convenience. On this week. So at that point, let's handle that. Let's talk about what your options are at that point. because, you know, all of us don't know what's going to happen at any particular time, but our job is to be kind of preparing for that regardless of what happens. So that's my approach to it. So
Are there any let's say, are there any loopholes? I'm a loophole finder, okay? That's why I always got in trouble in the military. But like I'm a loophole finder, right? But a legal loophole. So let's say that these people are getting terminated, but is there anything within some verbiage that maybe you have seen or you've even experienced in the past where, okay, I understand that the executive order says this, or you know, this has now happened, but A B C D E F G, I should be able to stay. Is there, have you seen anything to where someone is able to retain their contract because of whatever reason
is
so
that from
far?
here for Carl?
Oh, okay.
Oh, either.
Yeah. Okay. So much to unwrap here. I'm just like, I get jazzed to talk about this kind of stuff because I just can't find people on the street to talk to me about these issues. To just echo what Linecia said, okay, if you're a government contractor, I'm not sure how the changing the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, how that impacts your janitorial contract. So I would not worry about that. Okay. The other thing is, there are in the executive orders that they are, I don't say contradictory, but they are things that don't quite sync up. For example, there's an executive order that says they are going to freeze all pending regulation changes. So if you know in the rulemaking process, they have to give you a period of notice and comment. So before something becomes an actual regulation, it has to be put out into the public. People have to comment on it. Then that comment period closes, and then the agency issues what they call a final rule. Well, any regulation that's in that process that has not yet been made a final rule is stopped. It has been withdrawn by this administration. Okay, so all that stuff that you heard in the first federal fiscal quarter, like if it didn't become a final rule, it does not apply to you yet. And there's another executive order that says there is a moratorium on issuing new regulations. So they've stopped the ones that were in process. They have said, we're not going to allow any agencies to issue new regulations. And when they issue a new regulation, they have to propose 10 other existing regulations that have to be rescinded. Okay, so I'm not sure if the kids still call things like a hot mess. It's a hot mess. Okay, and so just relax. Don't be too proactive. Don't look to try to comply before you have a full understanding of what your requirements are. And your requirements, my friends, are in your contract. An executive order is not a statute. It's not a law. It is a directive, an instruction to the executive agencies on how they should conduct business going forward. Now, I understand there was cancellation of a number of executive orders, likely dealing with what's generally being referred to as DEI issues. In some contracts, like if you had a contract, a multi-award contract, multi-award scheduled contract through GSA, a number of those affirmative action related executive orders are incorporated by reference, okay? But just because the executive order under Lyndon Johnson has been revoked by President Trump doesn't change the statutes that cover the same areas. So don't jump, right? Like wait, see what's happening, and then pounce on the opportunities as they present themselves. But I don't want you guys to feel like you need to jump to stuff just yet. I'm sorry, I've been rambling a little bit.
No. This is great because it's prompting. Now I'm jazzed because it's prompting more questions, and I don't want to have the argument, but I'm having low level arguments with other people as well. People that have been following the news a lot more than I did, and am hearing that DEI is illegal, and I'm like, okay, well, I have companies that reached out to me recently this week. Like, our DEI program is still in place. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, we're reaching out to you specifically because you're a Black female veteran and we want to do business with you right now. So I'm like, okay, well, obviously it can't be illegal. And then some of these companies that are removing it, I, personally, I wasn't ever able to get a contract with them anyway, because I do federal, local, and corporate. But then there's still other companies that I've been like working with, and they've been wanting to work with me, and they're even putting the pedal to the metal even more now than ever, and specifically because of minority status, or woman status, or veteran status. So I'm like, well, is it illegal? Or is it not? Like, I'm not seeing anything that says DEI is illegal. Period.
Gene, if I could just add, just as an example, last year about this time, there was a lot of action around the Corporate Transparency Act, where people had to file the disclosures of who their beneficial owners were in their company, and had two different deadlines, right? If you existed before January 1, 2024, then you had the full year of 2024 to file. If you were a new company created after January 1st, you had to file with, I think it was 90 days. Well, there were several lawsuits that were filed, and ultimately they put a restraining order in place that stopped those deadlines. So I'll say shameless plug, but you will do yourself a great service if you can find a knowledgeable attorney in the government contract area, who can, when those things come up, you might see them in the news, that you can, rather than panic, rather than just jumping and doing stuff, find someone like Linecia or myself, or if you don't like my haircut, someone else who knows this stuff and can help you find a rational, reasonable plan to deal with the information that you're trying to process, rather than reacting in the last minute and maybe doing something you don't have to do, or maybe not doing it in the way that makes the most sense for you.
I love that. I'm going to do a quick pause and read a couple of these comments. So, ex-blind royalty X says, federal worker here. I took the early retirement, but still working. I love the uncomfortableness and challenges ahead. I'm going to make 3 times my income. No more golden handcuffs. Exactly what we've said. Hey, this is my way out. I gotta get out of jail free card. Is my way out. I got this great job. It would be stupid for me to quit on my own. But since you're giving me the opportunity, I'm going to make sure that I put the pedal to the metal over the next few months. I think they gave everybody till September. And thank you so much for the super chat. Really, really appreciate it, because they're dropping some free knowledge. Okay, free knowledge. They could be anywhere else. They could be anywhere else. So again, we have Alvarez also. She was a wonderful guest on the channel, and she is a tremendous government contractor. I'm talking, she's winning. She won 2 contracts in 30 minutes. Okay, she's one of those. Doing local and federal, right? So my company is a subcontractor for Deloitte. Although they have taken away their DEI initiatives, they assured they will continue working with small minority businesses. That's what I'm saying. They may not be able to use the word DEI, but they're still working the way that they want to work, if they want to work that way. So if the companies are like, we don't want to work with Black people ever again in life, cool, because there's so many other companies that are willing, able, and they care about the capacity, and don't necessarily care about why they're hiring you. They want to hire you because you can do the job. Thank you for sharing that.
Sheen, if I could just add, in the executive order that dealt with the new effort by the U.S. Attorney General to go after private companies that may have illegal DEI programs and practices, the key word there is illegal.
Yes.
And they don't define in all the different ways that you could have a legal program or what would make it illegal. But again, the anti-discriminatory statutes have not been revoked. They are still on the books. They are still effective. So again, what is an illegal DEI? Well, that's scary, but they don't explain it. Right. So before you start dismantling stuff that you have taken time, effort, money, and people to put into place, talk to somebody and figure it out, and see what you have to do and what you can do, and then what you should do.
No, I love that. And, or read. I mean, honestly, I'm like, show me where it says it's illegal. I want to see black and white, period. I couldn't find it. So then I'm like, that's why I wanted you guys to come on and explain a little bit more. So going into like the DEI, but then also you mentioned earlier, Linecia, about like set asides, right? So of course, people asking like, should I still get my DBE? Yes, of course. But I'm sure they may change, and then some companies are not going to recognize it to the same level, or they may adjust. So even with the 8A program, that changed long before any of this stuff happened. So can you share a little bit of what you've seen, or what may or may not change in the future for set asides?
Honestly, right now we just don't know,
I don't
right?
know.
So, I've had clients who've had to adjust when it came to the changes to the AA program, as far as defining um, basically what makes them an AA and what makes them eligible. They had to kind of go back and adjust that. We did that, and they're continually to win contracts that are AA set asides. So I think that things are going to change, and they may change back, right?
Right.
So we kind of have to look at where we are today. Carl mentioned that we don't really have a definition of what DEI is or what makes it illegal. At some point we may have that definition, right?
Mm.
But then you're going to have people who are going to, may file lawsuits that say this doesn't apply, or this applies, or this is illegal, this is not illegal. So I think, again, for example, was it Alvarez? The one,
Alvarez.
yes, the
Yep.
question that she had, or just letting us know that the company that she works for, or not work for, but she's subcontracting for, or has contracts with, that they haven't changed. So certain things don't apply to what she is doing.
Right.
That's just kind of how and I know I'm kind of repeating what I'm saying, but
Yeah.
I want my clients to focus on, if you have, I had a conversation with a client, and she was basically explaining, I've built this company for the past 10 years. And then in a matter of a few weeks, maybe half of my contracts, have been either terminated or so we have to sit down and look at, okay, the contracts that you have, what's going on with these contracts, what agencies are these contracts with, because a lot of the orders, a lot of the changes in the laws and the rules, they may not apply to every agency.
Right.
If these contracts if you were focused on this agency, or maybe two agencies, how can we get you to another agency? What is the plan to get you marketing to other agencies, or or other corporations, for that matter? So I think that this is something that is going to be consistently changing. And then you have to be in a position to kind of ebb and flow with the changes. And for the most part, if you've been in contracting, or in federal space or government space for several years, especially if you're in set aside, they kind of set you up so that, after so many years, you have to diversify,
Yeah.
right? So you have to kind of prepare for graduation. And I think that helps as well. So again, I'm just against the fear part of it, of being fearful of what is next, because this administration has shown us that we don't know as far as the changes. And even before, there were changes made as far as the AA set aside program. So we adjust as those changes come. But no one that I have worked with have lost their businesses because of changes in the legal space of federal government contracting. So
No,
I
that's
hope that helps. But yeah.
If I could build on that,
Yep.
As a government contractor, you have to be resilient and you have to be agile. Last summer, when the changes came to the 8A program and they were requiring a social disadvantage narrative to qualify you for 8A status in the 8A program, shortly thereafter, I was working with some clients who had to do that, and they submitted their 8A applications. There's a conference I speak at every year in the fall, and it's a huge conference, like 5,000 government contractors and subcontractors, and the SBA is always there. And at the SBA's booth, they were approving and reviewing and approving SBA 8A applications on site.
What?
So you could literally fill out your 8A application, and they would give you a preliminary determination right there. And you would know, now to take advantage of that, you had to be aware that that was being offered, and you had to have the ability to react to take advantage of that opportunity. So those things of being resilient, which means essentially don't get paralyzed by information overload, but be looking for opportunities and then pounce on them when they present themselves. Because there were several clients that I had that actually had pending 8A applications that they met with the SBA people and they pressed them. And during that 4-day conference, their application, which had been sitting since July, got approved.
Wow. See, that's what I'm talking about. You create your future. Stop crying and whining. Create your future. I have a friend who works at the SBA, and I've been pressing him. Like, what specifically has changed? I want to know right now, what has changed? According to him, nothing's changed. Literally, nothing's changed at the SBA. Not one single thing. And he works with this every single day, works in the office physically, because everybody got to go back to the office anyway. He sees nothing has freaking changed. People will complain about the 8A program. I'm like, that changed long ago. That changed a while ago. And it's a narrative. So it's like, I mean, I don't totally disagree with that. I mean, it's not so far-fetched. And if you qualify, you qualify. So like you said, people are like making, what is it, mountains out of molehills with certain things, and it's not even the foundation is not even just. Like, there's no reason to be up in arms about something that you qualify for anyway. Like, why are you bitching about, excuse my language, why are you complaining about it when it's not something that you necessarily need to complain about? And we talked about, before we started, I mentioned that I found out that HHS filed a restraining order against the administration, and you guys talked a lot about like lawsuits. So how does that work? Like, if I say my contract was terminated and I file a lawsuit against the agency, do I file it against the federal government? Do I go to whitehouse.gov? Like, how do I go off about everything that happens to me personally as a contractor?
I'll let you take that one, Carl.
Sure. Okay. There's what you, as I said, there's what you can do, and there's what you should do. Okay, you can do all of those things. You want to call the White House, you want to send a letter to the White House, you want to sue anybody, there's very little preventing you from doing that. There are lawyers who will take your money to file a damn near frivolous suit. I don't recommend it, but you can do those things. When you receive a termination for convenience, there's already a system or a structure set up. It's referenced typically in your contract and by the regulations incorporated into your contract for how that gets handled. A notice of a termination for convenience, I want you to think about that as an invitation for you to negotiate how you end this contract early. That's all that it is. They're saying, look, we no longer need your services or want your services, or for whatever reason or no reason at all, the government has said, we're done. That gives you the opportunity to present to the government, okay, you're going to let me go? You're not going to use this? Okay, well, here's my list of demands. This is my response to your offer to negotiate. Okay, you want me gone? Fine. Well, I'm taking that lamp and I'm taking that painting, and then we can shake hands and walk away. Right? It is an opportunity for you to negotiate. Now, everyone wants to perform their profitable contract until the end and then get it extended or renewed. But if you're a government contractor, my friends, you are living with the reality every single day since you are awarded a contract that the federal government can terminate you for no reason and very little notice. If you haven't been appreciating that risk or building that risk into your pricing, and especially into your agreements with independent contractors and your subcontractors and suppliers, so that they know that if your contract gets terminated for convenience early, that you are not on the hook to pay them for the next 6 months or a year, or to buy the next order of materials or supplies. Okay, if you have done that in advance, now you're just negotiating, how do I minimize my lost dollars on this early terminated contract? And that's a process where you would submit what's called a T4C, or termination for convenience proposal. You would negotiate with the contracting officer, and you would reach a settlement or a resolution. If you think it is for some reason an improper termination, right? If they want to, for example, terminate you for not performing something, that's called a termination for cause or a default termination. That's different than a termination for cause. And what happens is,
Convenience.
I'm
Carl.
sorry?
That's different from a termination for convenience.
Yes, it is different from termination for convenience. And a termination for default or wrongful termination or an improper termination under the law, if it's legally found to be a defective cause-based termination, it gets converted into a termination for convenience. So you can end up at the same place, which is trying to negotiate how you exit that contract and your remaining contract performance.
No, that's great. So that's a lot of information that I know because I talked to Carl when I was going through it. So it's very real when it's happening to you. So I'm like, I remember him saying, write a proposal of, hey, I paid all this money for this detergent, so I need my money back for that. So until it happens to you, some of this stuff is not going to necessarily stick. So it goes back to the point of not, catastrophizing something that hasn't happened yet. So I want to read this note real quick from Mallory's. I know she had to leave a little early. People need to cut through the noise. I spoke this week on Capitol Hill about government contracts, and everyone is still committed. Find those people. And that's a fact. I mean, like I said earlier this week, I had companies reach out specifically and still say, hey, we still want to work with you. You're a small business that we want to work with, even if it's by way of me being a small business. A lot of people forget that that's also a set aside. Just being a small business doesn't matter what gender, what race, or anything else. If you did service, it's because you're a small business and we want to or must work with you. So just keep that in mind as well. And Joy brought up a good point. Please make sure you hit like on this video or share it with someone you may find this valuable, because there's not enough likes for as many people that are viewing right now. So please hit like on this video, okay? So what is something that, besides not stressing, what is something, and pivoting, what is something that small businesses can do to kind of like protect themselves, like not officially, but what is something like, okay, let's make sure that we go and talk to the contracting officer, buy them lunch and dinner, or should we have some sort of documentation in place before this thing might come down the pipeline? Is there
I
such a thing?
so I had a question this week. A client asked if in the future could they negotiate ahead of time, you know, as far as some terms for a termination for convenience. So, say for example, um, will the government agency agree to pay invoices for, say, 2 months after termination for convenience, if that were to happen, right? And I explained when it's time for negotiation, you can ask for whatever you think is feasible. You can. There's nothing wrong with wanting to do that. There's nothing wrong with asking that or trying to negotiate that. Just know that, you know, you may get a no. And my thing is, when the government space, it's kind of like what the government says goes to a certain degree, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't hurt to actually try to negotiate further than what they present to you in the physical contract. And I think what was good about my conversation was you have contractors who are thinking about the future in a broader sense and not just taking what they are given. So you don't know until you actually take the time to think about, okay, how can I prepare for a worst case scenario when you receive your contract? Because a lot of times I think government contractors, you win a contract and you're just so happy to receive it, of course, right? You're not thinking about those things. So I appreciated the conversation because it allowed him to think about ways I can be proactive before I even sign a contract that, you know, I may win or I'm awarded. So that is an option, things to think about as far as when it's time for negotiation, what are things that you could possibly propose to the government? You shouldn't be afraid to do that. Of course, they could say no, but you don't get the no until you actually open your mouth and ask for it. So I think that's one way to be proactive as far as and when you win awards. Another way is to consider joint ventures and just ways to connect with other contractors so that you have options beyond just, your business, meaning just your sole business, but you have ways to connect and, navigate through that space with a larger company or with a company that has resources or provides products or services that you don't provide.
No, that's perfect. Get stronger. We're stronger together. So I think that's a great piece of advice. I've talked about on many of my videos that I probably should have started off as a subcontractor or doing a joint venture because it was all on me and I didn't have enough to spread around. So that is a great way if you're gonna reset, because I guess we're all kind of resetting right now, or at least thinking about resetting, even if nothing changes. About if I were to do a joint venture, I need to latch on to this stronger company. So that's a great piece of advice.
If I can add a footnote, um, definitely talk to your contracting officers, the whole suite of contracting officers that you have. You should be in contact with them on a regular basis. Go to industry days, attend different online presentations from the agencies and the procuring activities or facilities. For me, don't buy contracting officer dinner. I understand that might happen, and a lot of times we're talking like penny ante steaks, but just as a practice, you don't want to be giving gifts or paying for a contracting officer. Even it's safer just not to do it rather than worry about like particular dollar limits or whatever. The other thing that I would say is that keep your eyes up and your head on a swivel for opportunities. You will see some you may learn of some companies their contracts are being terminated, right? And you might be able to buy some of their inventory at a discount, which is a win-win for them because you're giving them cash on stuff they probably can't return to their supplier and that they're not going to be able to sell at the contract price. But if you have a need for that, or if there is equipment, or if there are employees that they are looking to shed, then you may be able to bring them on. There are a lot of opportunities, and let me just say my experience in the recent past has been that the core of federal procurement officers and officials has been decimated by COVID, by retirement, and I fear now some people might be either forced to leave, or they may say, you know what,
no more golden
I'm out of here, right? Which means that the people who are left behind are going to be shouldering a heavier burden. And while it shouldn't necessarily have to be this way, it often falls to contractors to notify or inform or even instruct and educate contracting professionals for the government. And sometimes it's just because they don't have the time or the bandwidth to pay attention as closely as maybe you would like them to, or they're just new and they haven't seen everything that maybe you have if you've had that contract for 5 years or 10 years in that space.
That's a great point. Help them help you. For all those reasons, I always say this is a people business. They miss stuff. They don't understand stuff. Help educate them. Just like Linecia said, you just really have to help. Everyone's helping everyone at this point. And you have to just ensure that you are pivoting in order to save yourself. And oh, by the way, they're gonna show gratitude that you are helping them. So you mentioned Industry Day, which of course, for those who don't know, every federal agency, local agency, corporate agency will have some sort of conference, or it might be based on that region. It might be based on a specific industry. It might be based on that particular agency itself. And you can go there and meet with people based on whatever you're trying to do. Face to face can help a lot. If it's not a huge conference, usually it can help a lot. But what are some organizations you can think of that maybe as a small business or even as a government contractor we could join or be aware, at least be aware of, or any experience, especially locally and then nationally?
Um,
Like I just joined the National Contracts Management Association.
NCMA is a
NCMA.
good one. The
Okay.
other, and I hate, I'm not trying to mansplain, but the U.S. Women's Chamber of Commerce is a great organization, and they are advocating for woman-owned businesses in the government contracting space all the time. And they pump out a lot of information about what's ongoing, in that space, and
Okay.
have there other also a networking opportunity. So there are other national chambers of commerce. I believe there's the Hispanic Women's Chamber of Commerce, which is
I've heard
also
great things about them.
a very good one.
there
And
is the here in Atlanta, the Georgia Tech. Is it the Georgia Tech procurement and
Apex.
contracting? Yes,
it's called the Apex Accelerator, I think is
yes,
how they
yes.
changed their
They
name. And
changed
that's a
names. Yes,
great, I direct all my clients
yeah,
who are new to government contracting to go there. That's their first stop,
yes,
because it's free,
Right.
and two, they give you ongoing leads to contract opportunities for your NAICS code, and they have counselors there. They can't represent you in a protest or a claim, but they can help you learn more as you grow into becoming a government contractor. It's a great free resource.
yes. I actually think I hate to say this, I think they're more resourceful here in Atlanta than SBA. I know SBA has certain
Yes.
programs and things, but I think they're more resourceful.
And I will say, I appreciate any program that's free. So let me be
Yes,
clear.
yes,
We have SCORE, which is attached to the SBA, and technically Apex Accelerators is like a subset. Well, no, I'm sorry, the SBDC is a subset of the SBA.
yes,
But they're not all created equal. And again, it depends on the person and the time of the year or time of the life of the person too. So, make them do their job. Maybe SCORE volunteers. So, they're running their own lives too. So you got to be gentle with that experience, but make the SBDC do their job, make the SBA do their job. Because I'm one of those like, hey, I'll show up at the door. Like, excuse me, you said that you all do this, so where's it at? That type of thing. And I've had people get completely discouraged and tell me that the SBA or SCORE or someone else told them, no, you can't do that because of some wild reason. And do not let that be the reason that you stop. For those who are new on the channel, so I want to say to Rajani, thank you so much for the super chat. This is one of the ones that just jumped in, got the free information online, and went all the way to the moon. She was actually my subcontractor this past summer and gonna be my subcontractor again. Just gets it, just someone that gets it and not afraid. Just whatever happens, we're gonna just jump out, build the plan on the way down. So that's kind of how we have to be, and that's been the theme throughout this conversation. Is yeah, think about the future, but also just kind of do what you do. Just live. Don't stop living, essentially. So we only have a few more minutes, so please ask your remaining questions and remaining comments because they got stuff to do. So Rajani,
If I can also say, for veterans, the VA
yeah,
has
yeah,
very good resources to help you get your company certified as SDVOSB or VOSB, and they also have mentor relationships they can help you connect with veterans who own businesses who can help guide you. It's a lot of it is on the front end with getting certified, but they also have those folks who will help you on an ongoing basis as well, and again, free.
free. And I always talk about IVMF, the Institute for Veterans and Military Families. I am very, very inundated with them. I teach at Texas A&M. I teach at Syracuse University, all that, and that's all through IVMF. So please also check out their resources. They are tremendous. And Carl, I'm trying to get you in with IVMF to teach at their Veterans Edge conference every year because you'd be a great asset. So Rajani says, I'm a member of my local chamber of commerce and member of the DEI committee, and they recently changed the name of the committee from Diversity and Inclusion Committee to Engaging in Inclusion. See, they're not stopping. They just got to change the verbiage. Thank you for sharing that, Rajani. And this was a strategic move to attract organizations that aren't passionate about DEI. So there it is. Like people are adjusting, pivoting, changing, and we have to do the same. So make sure y'all hit like on this video. So with YouTube now, Everyone that bring on. I tell my audience, do not waste my people's time. I'm gonna tap, 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 tap. Do not waste their time. Okay? If you reach out, you need to pay. Now they're probably gracious. I know Carl has been gracious and doing a lot of stuff for free. What they're doing right now is for free. Okay? They are giving you knowledge from years and years and years of knowledge on this call. And I want to make sure that we're respecting their time and respecting their practice. They paid a lot of money for that degree, and you're coming to them for a reason. So please, if you're reaching out, make sure you are willing to pay. If it's something that you can Google or ask ChatGPT, then Google it or ask ChatGPT. I'm just being honest. Their information is going to be in the description after this video is posted, but do not reach out unless you are ready to pay. Just saying, okay? Don't waste their time. Do you guys have any parting words? You guys have been I know we can go talk about this for another 10 hours, but is there any parting words you want to give or share, or even anything about what you have going on with your practice or your business?
Well, first, Sheena, I want to thank you. This is my first time on, and I so appreciate the invite. I hope that the information that we gave was helpful. I would like to add one thing. If you are a government contractor and you already have, an attorney or an accountant that helps you with your business, I would suggest also going to them for connections with other contractors. If you have that team already, then ask them, hey, your other clients, is there anyone that you think would work with what I'm doing, and get that connection going on? That's just something that I do for my clients. So I wanted to point that out for other people. If you already have that team, then, seek them out as far as assistance with other, connections if possible. But just thank you again for having me on. This is something I've been doing for 15 years. I enjoy it. And I really love seeing other businesses grow. I've been blessed to see businesses from the time that I started until now that have become multimillionaires and multimillion-dollar companies, and who have expanded over these years. So it's a blessing for me to do it. And I just thank you for your time.
I love it. And Carl, I need that multi-billion-dollar construction company. Okay. I need that connect. Let's do that after this call.
Absolutely. And Sheena, again, thank you. It's my absolute pleasure. And thank you for Linecia for being here and including her in this. Linecia and I, no details just yet, but we are looking at starting our own podcast show with one of our other colleagues. When we have a name and a launch date, we will absolutely let you and your followers and fans know. As a parting thought, I would say, let me just say a little bit more about Linecia, y'all. She is her client's secret weapon. Okay, she is there with them not just as a government contracts lawyer, but also as someone who looks at their operations, looks at their business functions, and helps them put in place a leadership team and a management team, and helps them find their blind spots and fixes them. It's been my great pleasure to work with her and to call her a colleague and friend or for more than a decade. And anyone who hires her is really, if you're going to a closer in the bullpen, you really need to get Linecia on your team. I love doing this. I hope that you can see that. And I never get tired talking about this stuff, and really got started focusing on small businesses and news companies that are new to government contracting, because you have the same burdens and responsibilities as the largest contractors in the government contractors in the world. Yet there are very few people that are there to help you navigate your way through that minefield. So that's why I do this. I know that's why Linecia does this. And I would ask you, there is money to be made. There's generational wealth to be gained, to be passed down through government contracting. We didn't even talk about local and state today.
I was just thinking that.
And there may be downstream effects because, as you know, federal money goes into healthcare, federal money goes into education, federal money goes into transportation. And Linecia knows, she's got clients with MARTA contracts here in Atlanta. So those hybrid kinds of funding present unique challenges. And I can go on and on. Sheena, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to see you and chat with you. And best of luck to you and to your audience members. And Linecia, thank you. Thank you very much for being here. And look forward to working with you on many matters going forward.
Same.
Yes, y'all stay on. And so my parting words is, again, you said minefield, and that is truly what it is, because you might step into something that you think is dangerous, and you're like, okay, it worked out. I made it. I still got my foot. And then the next thing that you is completely off guard, and then boom, now you have a whole situation. And that's why it's important, like you said, to have someone. I'll text Carl like, SOS, I have a specific question. Please save me. Okay, boom, and we're good. And it's just sometimes you just need that. I know he's seen this before, and every time he's seen it every time.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Usually when I'm at Raising Canes.
Oh, good. So I'm catching you when you're like kind of like settle down. So it's it's having that person, Linecia, having Carl, and I mean I really haven't met a whole lot of, or really any other attorneys that do government contracting that really focus on that. And so that was like extreme, especially federal and local. Because I did have another company I was using, and I asked them something about local. They're like, I don't know, I don't want to know, la 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 la, hands over my ears. And I'm like, well, most of my contracts are local. I need to know that too. So it's really important to have people who you can, get out of your head and stop catastrophizing. You reach out to them, and they're like, oh, you're okay, you'll survive, and can let you do what you really need to do, and that's run your business. So you guys stay on. Thank you everyone who showed up. There's a lot of y'all that hang around. So make sure y'all hit like on this video. Until next time, it's your favorite veteran. I can't talk today, y'all. Your favorite veteran, Sheena. So take care, guys. You guys stay on, and we are out.